Ernest Hemingway was an American writer and journalist. During his lifetime, he wrote and had published 7 novels, 6 collections of short stories, and 2 works of nonfiction. Since his death, 3 novels, 4 collections of short stories, and 3 nonfiction autobiographical works have been published. Hemingway received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. Hemingway was born and raised in Oak Park, Illinois. After high school, he worked as a reporter, but within months he left for the Italian front to be an ambulance driver in World War I. He was seriously injured and returned home within the year. He married his first wife, Haley Richardson, in 1922, and moved to Paris, where he worked as a foreign correspondent. During this time, Hemingway met and was influenced by writers and artists of the 1920s. In 1924, Hemingway wrote his first novel, The Sun Also Rises. In the late 1920s, Hemingway divorced Haley, married his second wife, Pauline Pfeiffer, and moved to the Key West, Florida. In 1937, Hemingway went to Spain as a war correspondent to cover the Spanish Civil War. After the war, he divorced Pauline, married his third wife, Martha Gellhorn, wrote For Whom the Bell Tolls, and moved to Cuba. Hemingway covered World War II in Europe, and he was present at an Operation Overlord. Later, he was in Paris during the liberation of Paris. After the war, he divorced again, married his fourth wife, Mary Welsh Hemingway, and wrote Across the River and Into the Trees. 2 years later, The Old Man and the Sea was published in 1952. 9 years later, after moving to Cuba to Idaho, he committed suicide in the summer of 1961. In his novels, Ernest Hemingway used violence extensively, yet subtly. Never is there a description of death for its own sake. It always contributes to a larger theme. In A Farewell to Arms, it is mainly human commitment, and in For Whom the Bell Tolls, mainly comradeship. It contributes in an unusual way. During his peaceful life among friends, he was able to develop his literary skills. In times of war, inspired by death, he would use them. The Hemingway style rocked the literary scene when it first arrived. It seems simple on the surface, but it was a revolution in a time when Victoria writing with neo-Gothic decoration still governed the literary world. The Floridita. This bar is where Hemingway would come to drink daiquiris on his way home to his 4 dogs and 57 cats. Hemingway once said that alcohol was his best friend and severest critic. Although partial to daiquiris as he was, Hemingway created his own version of the cocktail, now immortalized as the Papa Doble. In Cuba, Hemingway is not only known and remembered by his new invention of the cocktail, but also for the mythical legend of his story, The Old Man and the Sea. People wanted to know if he was the old man he wrote about. They wanted to know if he really encountered deadly waters and fierce sharks. The myth remains in Cuba and stands as a monument to have the story remembered and to be told time and time again.